300 days in hardcore modded Minecraft. After surviving 200 days, we wanted to set 3 new challenging goals. First, finish crafting our full Onyx armor, and craft one of the most godly weapons in the game, Dragonsteel weapons. Second, this alien-like creature can be found in deserts. There's rumored to be gargantuan deathworms. There's a reason there's dragon skeletons in the deserts. And our third goal, defeat a stage 5 dragon, the strongest and most deadly of the dragons. And a quick thanks to Bisect Hosting for hosting our server. You can use code Forrest to get 25% off your first month. Will the road ahead prove to be too difficult for us? Stay tuned to find out. On day 201, we picked up right where we left off. We immediately started working on expanding the blacksmith. This was so we'd have a nest to place our dragon egg, which we got from the last 100 days. Once the blacksmith tower was complete, we grabbed the dragon egg we got, took it back to the nest, and decided that Painful could raise this dragon. To hatch a dragon egg, all you needed was a piece of netherrack, flint and steel, and to place the dragon egg into the fire. While waiting for the dragon egg to hatch, we looked at some of your suggestions in the comments section and decided to move our enchanting table into the glass bubble. Since we still had plenty of room in our underwater base, we decided to make the back wall into an armory, putting a bunch of old armor sets onto our armor stands. By the time we were finished on day 207, Painful's dragon had finally hatched. The dragon was so tiny we almost missed it in the corner of the room. The dragon could actually go onto your shoulder like a little parrot. That probably won't be possible when he's all grown up. So we went out for the rest of the day to hunt some animals so we can get some raw meat to feed the dragon. The dragon only eats dragon meal, which is made from raw food and bones. When Painful started to feed him, each dragon meal seemed to increase the dragon's size just by a little bit. But for some reason when feeding him, he just walked straight through a wall. Not sure how the heck that happened. Luckily, he was still small enough to fit on Painful's shoulder, so Painful picked him up and brought him straight back into the nest. Maybe this dragon is cursed or something. Hopefully he doesn't escape. The levels we had saved from the end are finally gonna come in handy. We enchanted a pickaxe with efficiency 4, unbreaking 3, and fortune 3, so we could go to the nether and finish mining all the onyx we needed to complete our full onyx armor. We ended up spending the next 5 days looking for and mining onyx with our mithril pickaxes. Since we had fortune on our pickaxe, this helped us get a lot of extra onyx. We also got a strange gem from the onyx called phosphophylite. Apparently this is valuable to nether natives. Not really sure who that's referring to. While mining in one of the nether caves looking for more onyx, we heard blazes in the distance. So we mined towards the sound and found some sort of interesting looking blaze dungeon. So I re-equipped my shield and went straight in with Painful. After a little bit of fighting with the blazes, we defeated them all, broke the blaze spawners, and looted the chests. We thought this dungeon looked really awesome, so we stole all the blocks and took them back to base. On our way back to base, we ran into a super creepy looking skeleton called an Vermis. We thought it was going to be a lot stronger, but luckily we defeated it with ease. And on day 213, we finally made it back to base. We spent most of day 214 getting ready to craft the rest of our onyx armor. We then found a random villager in our armory. I had no idea how it got there. It must have came from the village nearby. We went ahead and crafted ourselves our onyx chestplate and our onyx leggings, completing our full onyx set. We also enchanted both pieces with protection 4. While taking the time to admire our full onyx sets, something started breaking through our floor. Ended up being a frostbound zombie which had TNT. Where the heck did this guy come from? We quickly defeated him, but wanted to know how the heck he even got under our floorboards. We ended up discovering he dug a tunnel all the way here from a cave super far away from our base. We didn't even know zombies were capable of digging this far. We must have been at least 50 blocks away from where the zombie noticed us and started digging. So we lit up the cave, patched the hole, and went back to what we were doing. We hung up our old mithril set onto the armor stands and decided we wanted to look for some pixies. In order to tame a pixie, we needed some cake. So we gathered up materials from our barn, made a bunch of cakes, and used our hippogriffs to travel out and find a dark oak forest biome. After about a day of travel, we finally had found one and found our first pixie. Pixies come in all different kinds of colors. Then we found our own pixie and we had tamed it by throwing a cake at it. Pixies also steal your items, but you can get them back pretty easily just by punching them. And when they're tamed, they follow you around and give you passive potion effects depending on their color. This pink one ended up giving me a jump boost effect. I already had a balloon, so it didn't make much of a difference. Painful's green pixie gave him luck. Not really sure what that does. We safely returned them back to base and sat them down in the barn. Painful also decided on moving his dragon to the lumberjack house because his dragon kept escaping our blacksmith tower. He wasn't going anywhere now. On day 218, we decided it was time to go back to the aether. A cow ended up following us in. We spent the next few days looking for an aether boss, and ended up finding an aether temple. Strangely enough, it looked like someone had built up to the aether temple because there was some massive pillar for some reason. So we went up to investigate. We entered the temple and started looking around. To our knowledge, there's usually chests in these blocks, and there was no chests around either. It's almost as if someone had been here before. I asked Painful if it was him, but he kept on denying it. We fought a few of these valkyries, which were the guards of the temple. We then found a staircase that seemed to lead down somewhere, and fought some valkyries on the way down. We then ran into one more Valkyrie guard, which we defeated, and walked through the doorway. We saw what appeared to be someone fighting a Valkyrie. We were extremely confused and didn't know what the heck was going on. How could someone have snuck onto our server? We immediately tried chasing down the person, but before we knew it, they were gliding off the edge into the abyss. We had no idea what was going on, or how this was even possible. We both agreed to stay on high alert, but for now, we were going to stay in the aether. Unfortunately, my recording broke, so I'm giving you guys Painful's perspective on the fight. We entered the temple and immediately started fighting a bunch of Valkyries, including some chest mimics. We looted some of the chests, and we fought a ton of Valkyries. These Valkyries were important to defeat because they dropped victory medals, which we were gonna need later on. After defeating all the Valkyries, we entered the boss room and gave the Valkyrie Queen our 10 victory medals, agreeing to fight her. We drank our potions and began the battle. We seemed to be doing a lot of damage already, with Strength 2 helping a lot. Painful went in to try and freeze her, but for some reason, she seemed to be immune to freezing. We landed a lot of huge hits onto her, and she just kept on teleporting around. I'm guessing this is one of her special abilities. And before we knew it, we had defeated the Valkyrie Queen. She dropped a bunch of goodies, including a silver key. This silver key unlocked a chest underneath some trapdoors, which had a bunch of loot in it. This included a Valkyrie chestplate, leggings, pickaxe, and shovel. We had returned back to base on day 227 and decided it was time to look for some sea serpents. We really wanted to complete a full Tide Guardian armor set. In order to do this, we needed to kill a few more sea serpents to get a bunch of scales. We ran into our first sea serpent, drank our potions, and went in for battle. We only took one night vision potion with us, so we needed to make sure to use it sparingly. The sea serpent was targeting Painful, so I did as much damage as I could. It was already getting really low, but Painful also took a ton of damage, so I went upon him with a bunch of instant healths, making sure that he did not die. We then turned around to fight it together and defeated the sea serpent. While boating around, we thought we had heard something, and all of a sudden, I got jumped by a sea serpent. This time, we didn't even see it coming. Luckily, the sea serpent was just about the same size as the last one, so I drank my night vision potion and kept my shield up to block the majority of the damage. The sea serpent wasn't targeting anyone in particular, so we were spreading out the damage, which helped a lot. After landing a bunch of hits on the sea serpent, we defeated this one as well. We finally returned back to base on day 232, gathered up all of our sea serpent scales, and were ready to craft full Tide Guardian armor. I started out crafting Painful set, which was made out of full blue sea serpent scales. This set of armor, although not very useful on land, is one of the coolest looking armor sets in the game. You literally look like a mermaid when wearing it. I then crafted my armor set, enchanted it, and then tested it out in the water. When in the water, it gives you a strength passive effect and helps you move extremely fast when swimming. I also repaired my diamond saber since it was close to breaking. On day 233 to 237, we decided to look for some bosses in the Twilight Forest. After a few days of traveling, we ended up running straight into a dragon nest. Dragon nests usually have stage 1, 2, and 3 dragons, so we probably weren't in too much danger. But we drank our potions just in case and went to look for it. We looked around and didn't see it initially, but there it was, breathing fire straight at us. Being in Onyx armor, we were immune to fire, which was a huge help during this fight. The dragon landed and we both went in to start attacking it. Painful then attempted to freeze it, but the dragon was locked onto me, so I ate a golden apple just in case. Painful then had it locked into her corner while it was stuck targeting me, so we took advantage of that and defeated the stage 3 dragon. We made sure to collect the fire dragon blood before looting the dragon. We then took its scales, and Painful noticed that there was a Naga temple right next to us. So we drank our potions and ate our golden apples and pearled right into the Naga temple. This boss looked like a massive python. We were trying to be extremely careful as we had no idea how much damage this boss was capable of doing. It was a pretty simple fight. All it really did was slither around and hit you, and being in full Prot 4 Onyx armor, it didn't do much damage at all. After a while of attacking it with their swords, the Naga was getting shorter and shorter, and eventually we defeated the Naga. The Naga dropped scales and a trophy. On day 238, we decided to go look for an ice dragon, which would require us to find a winter biome in the Twilight Forest. It took a long time, but eventually we found ourselves an ice dragon nest. We had never fought an ice dragon before, so we wanted to drink our potions and eat our golden apples before going in. We ended up knocking it off the glacier, so I took advantage of our position and started bowing it from up top. Painful wanted to kill this thing fast, so we ended up pearling down and meleeing it. So I said screw it and just pearled down with with him. This fight wasn't too much of a struggle, as we mainly just used our swords the entire time, and it wasn't able to do too much damage to us. So, using the glass bottles, I collected the ice dragon blood, and then we collected the scales. On day 245, on our way back home, we noticed a stage 4 or 5 dragon nest. So, we potted our potions and gapples in anticipation for a really difficult fight. Little did we know, the dragon nest had appeared like it had been broken out of already. But upon closer inspection, the nest was broken into. All that remained was a bunch of mobs and a dragon corpse. So, we first defeated the horde of mobs, and then took a closer look at the corpse. It was massive. What could have possibly killed this thing? We then remembered back to the person we ran into in the aether. It must have been him. We then looted the dragon to check what stage it was, realizing this guy had solo killed a stage 5 dragon. We tried looking for any other clues, but couldn't find anything, so we continued our journey back to base. On day 248, we had finally returned to base and decided we needed to build an extension to the blacksmith so that Painful's dragon would have a space for itself. We needed this area to be pretty sizable, so we expanded our cobblestone walls outside our base, and after a couple days, we had the structure built. We lit up the inside, finished building the roof of it, lit up the roof as well so no mobs would spawn on top, and we decided to do something that we definitely should have done at the start of the series. We crafted what is known as a lectern, and then crafted a book which is known as a bestiary, using the manuscripts we had gotten from all the dungeons we had done. The bestiary is basically a book that contains all the information you need about dragons and other mythical creatures within the mod pack. This definitely would have been a huge help in part 2 of our series. This helped us unlock the secrets about creating a dragon forge, which was necessary to complete our goal of making Dragonsteel weapons. In order to create the dragon forge, we were going to need to go back to the Twilight Forest and defeat a bunch more dragons, as we were going to need a ton of dragon scales. We ended up running into a stage 3 dragon, which we defeated really easily. When it was about to die though, it picked up Painful in his mouth and caused him to glitch out, causing the bug that happened in part 2, where basically if a dragon picks you up in his mouth, causes a visual glitch where you can't see your armor or your weapons for some reason. Anyways, we looted the dragon and moved on to find more. We mainly were hunting down stage 1, 2, and 3 dragons. So for the next 7 days, we killed dragon after dragon until we had all the materials we needed to craft the dragon forge. This required dragon bone blocks, a dragon forge fire aperture, a dragon forge fire core, and of course dragon forge fire bricks. Dragon Forge was actually built in 3 separate layers. It has to be built in an exact pattern in order for it to work. Once it was built, there was one more piece of the puzzle. Painful needed to bring over his dragon. Painful also had to feed his dragon so that it would be much larger. I then crafted him a chain to chain his dragon to the bone fence walls. And with the dragon lined up next to the Dragon Forge, Painful's dragon could then breathe fire into the forge and power it so he could create Dragonsteel ingots. He also put some iron armor on his dragon, which actually looks pretty cool. Painful wanted to give his dragon a test ride now that his dragon was big enough for him to ride on it. So I made a back exit out of the forge, and Painful did a quick fly around the town with his dragon. Now that everything was set up to create our Dragonsteel weapons, I hooked up our millstone to our windmill, and put coal in the millstone to grind that up into coal dust. This is so we can make crucible ingots, and then with the crucible ingots and fire dragon blood, putting those into the Dragon Forge will make us Dragonsteel ingots. The fact that the Dragon Forge is actually powered by a dragon is really cool. With the 3 Dragonsteel ingots, Painful crafted himself a one-handed axe. I wanted to craft a Dragonsteel saber, so all I needed was 4 Dragonsteel ingots. I also enchanted my Dragonsteel saber with sharpness 5. On day 264, we decided it was time to go out to look for a deathworm. Instead of a deathworm, we found a giant, which for some reason had my skin. Not sure where the heck that came from, but it actually did a ton of damage. So I had to pearl away and pop some instant health so I didn't die. If you guys are ever playing hardcore, ender pearls will come in clutch for you. You can pretty much get out of almost any situation with ender pearls. Once we killed this giant, it actually dropped its giant pickaxe, which looked quite ridiculous when Painful was holding it. After defeating the giant, we noticed that there was a deathworm in the distance. This one didn't seem too big, but to play it safe, we drank our speed and strength potions, as we had no idea how much damage a deathworm was capable of dealing. These deathworms could move around in the sand like they were swimming, so it was extremely hard to hit. Painful and I were landing hits, but not very often. Painful noticed he wasn't taking too much damage, so we kept our cool, and after a while of playing cat and mouse, we defeated the deathworm. This one ended up being easier to defeat than we expected, but I guess it still counts towards our goal. I wonder if there's even bigger deathworms out there. It took us a couple days to get back to base, so on day 273, we began working on our trophy room. We decided building it on the spot where our old hemp farm was. With the blocks that we stole from that blaze dungeon from before, we utilized them to design the trophy room. Something about the dark purple and gold scheme that looks really nice. Capped off the roof, started placing down our dragon heads, and all of a sudden we started hearing a ton of zombies outside our base. Turned around, zombies started flooding in like it was the Walking Dead. There seemed to be hundreds out there. We had no idea where they were coming from, but we tried fighting them off. After killing them one by one, we realized this was no use and made a dash for our base. How many freaking zombies were there? The zombies had already started on griefing our base. We quickly ran inside, climbed up the ladder, and got onto our roof. We looked up and saw a massive dragon flying above our town. Was this the same person we had seen in the aether? We had no idea, but I started trying to bow him down, as he was starting to breathe fire on all of our builds. We also had to deal with all the zombies griefing our base. I dropped down with a golden apple to use my Dragonsteel weapon to try and take out as many as I could. One by one, I was taking them out, but realized this was a diversion from the real threat. This person was using the dragon to burn down everything. So I tried going to the barn and bowing him down from there. So I tried closing some distance, went into the barn, and tried bowing him from underneath. It didn't seem to work very well, and my pixie got caught in the crossfire and ended up taking one for the team. I started focusing on the zombies, but the dragon started burning down our main base. All of a sudden, he landed on top of our forge, and we saw our opportunity. We threw a pearl at him, landed on top of the forge, but he immediately flew away. After a very eventful night, the invasion came to a conclusion, and our town was in shambles. Who was this person? What was their motive? Either way, we knew he had a ton of rebuilding to do. We worked on patching holes, fixing the landscape, clearing up some of the scorched sand from the aftermath of the burning, and remodeling all the wooden builds to be built out of stone. We ended up using stone brick because we thought that it looked the nicest, and it would probably stand up better to a dragon breath if we were to ever get attacked again. We also rebuilt the windmill from the ground up, going with the same theme of stone brick, and after about 10 days of rebuilding each build with stone brick, we thought our town turned out fairly well. Now that our town had been rebuilt, we decided to go back to the Twilight Forest. Our goal was to find another stage 4 dragon, but this time we had gotten lucky and found a dragon den in an ice biome, which could potentially hold a stage 4 or stage 5 ice dragon. So we had drank our potions and started breaking into the den. The dragon was still sleeping, so I took the opportunity and got some free bow shots on it. For some reason, the dragon wasn't reacting for a bit, but then it turned around and started breathing ice breath onto me. At first, the dragon didn't seem to notice, but then it turned around and started breathing ice. A yeti had also gotten in my way. The dragon then flew out of his den and went straight for Painful, picking him up in his mouth. So I got a few hits on him with my Dragonsteel sword, but the dragon insisted on picking up Painful and flying up into the sky. Painful had gotten out briefly, then the dragon picked him up again and flew up even higher, dropping him from the sky. Look at how high it went up. Lucky for Painful, there was water beneath him to break his fall. The dragon had continued firing his ice breath and also had gotten stuck on a tree, so I took advantage of that and started firing some arrows at him. The dragon then started targeting me, so I pearled away to re-drink my potions. I turned around seeing Painful fight the dragon on his own, and before I knew it, Painful had slain the dragon. I didn't even realize it was that low already. These Dragonsteel weapons pack a punch. Looted the ice dragon corpse, and it ended up being a female. Lucky for me, I saw an egg. I had finally had my own egg, and this one was even cooler. It was an ice dragon, this one specifically being a silver egg. So we returned back to base with our egg, and we built an extension to our forgery, extending from the room for Painful's dragon so I would have my own dragon room. In order to hatch an ice dragon, we needed to place the egg in water. This would turn the water into ice, and afterwards we would have to wait. After about a day of waiting, the egg had hatched, and I had my very own ice dragon. You know, it's kind of funny seeing the difference in size between my dragon and Painful's dragon. Don't worry, little guy. You'll grow up to be that big one day. We then went back to the Twilight Forest to try and complete our final goal. We had stumbled upon a dragon's den, but we weren't sure if it was stage 5 or not. So we fully drank our potions, ate our golden apples, and were prepared for the worst. The dragon surfaced from his den and was absolutely massive. This must have been a stage 5 dragon. I started using the trees as cover and using my bow to create distance. If there was any way to defeat a stage 5 dragon, this was the perfect terrain to do it in. Plenty of cover and plenty of things for the stage 5 dragon to get stuck on. I noticed the dragon started targeting Painful, so I went in from behind to do some melee attacks. This time, our strategy was working in reverse. Painful was doing the kiting while I was doing the damage. The dragon was then back on top of his den and was still targeting Painful, so I kept on doing jump attacks over and over. All I was focusing on doing was keeping the dragon away from Painful, and Painful was just running away. We could not afford to die here. The dragon was on about 10% HP. Only a few more hits away, and this thing would be toast. All of a sudden, the dragon started flying away though. I knew I couldn't let this chance slip, so I took out my bow and started landing the final shots. And after a few more bow shots, the dragon was defeated. And just like that, we had finally done it. The stage 5 dragon has been defeated, and our final goal was complete. So we pillared up so we could reach the dragon since he died on top of a tree, and collected our reward. We looted the dragon's den, and we also realized that the dragon was a female and dropped another egg. We then headed on home, and on day 300 we ended off with feeding our ice dragon. If you guys enjoyed the video, leaving a like and subscribing helps out the channel a lot. I noticed in game that my hearts didn't look hardcore, so I relogged to double check if it was a visual glitch, and my hearts went back to the hardcore hearts. Not really sure what the heck happened, but it could have been caused by something with the dragons, because whenever those things ate us, it would cause our armor to just go completely invisible. Still not too sure what caused it, but anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and have a good one.